Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the latest edition of Terrace Talk. Of course, cup respite for both these clubs last week. Championship action returns on Saturday, and both clubs, I think, will be hoping to get back to winning ways in the league after disappointment in the FA Cup. With that, of course, delighted to be joined by Sheffield United fan Ollie from the Sheffield United Way. Ollie, first and foremost, great to have you back on the channel discussing what always feels like a really good encounter between Norwich and Sheffield United, a proper championship game. You know, we've both been in the Premier League in recent times and have suffered for it. But with all that context, I mean, the season so far, let's talk a little bit about Sheffield United and maybe a little bit of a dip in form. I know you got that important win against Watford last time out in the league, but for that, a couple of defeats and a draw. I mean, what are you concerned about that recent run of form, or is there mitigation for it?
I mean, there's definitely mitigations for it, and obviously it's been everything I say should be prefaced with it's been a fantastic season for United. You know, even now because of the points deduction, we have won the most points in the division. I know we're not top, but I think that does get lost a little bit when we're thinking about United's season so far. So it's been incredible and much better than we ever could have expected. But this dip in form is certainly concerning because there are injuries that have affected us, but we knew that was coming. We felt from the start of the season, we always said there's no depth in this squad. 1 or 2 injuries or suspensions, and suddenly we're really down to the bare bones, playing lads from the academy. And that's what's hit us over Christmas. You know, we're going to big games against Burnley, against Sunderland, without some of our key players. We've lost Harry Souttar, Vinny Souza's been out injured, Femi Siriki at right back's been out injured, and suddenly we're really missing a core part of our squad, and that's really hit us hard. So we've dropped a few points over Christmas. Great to get back to winning ways at Watford, but again, it was a hell of an effort to get those 3 points. I really didn't see it coming. I think the game could have gone either way. It took a really brilliant goal from Andre Brooks to win it. So, yeah, it doesn't sound like many of those players are back fit. We've not made any January signings. So, yeah, I do worry that we might still be in the midst of this sticky patch until we get some of those players back and hopefully get some money spent.
Yeah, I was going to mention the January window. It feels like maybe in terms of timings, when you get a lot of injuries, the window's open, a chance to maybe try and recruit to strengthen. Obviously, you mentioned there no arrivals through the door yet. I know you've had a lot of links to the likes of Brereton and Diaz. Tom Cannon feels like he's been linked to you and Sunderland pretty heavily. I saw Shea Charles as well, of course, might potentially cross the city border to Sheffield United over this window. I mean, what do you make of all those links? Would you be happy with any of those arrivals?
Yeah, I'd be delighted with some of them, to be honest. It does feel like we've been linked to so many players now. Obviously, with the new owners, I think we are an easy target for agents. I think agent talk's really easy to run off Sheffield United at the minute. Oh, they've got new American owners. They'll be spending money, top of the championship. So I think people are playing on us a little bit to try and look at boosting some of the fees elsewhere. But a lot of the names have got me quite excited. And so now, unfortunately, I'm going to be very disappointed when they don't end up coming to Bramall Lane. Ben Brereton and Diaz in particular, we had him last season in the Premier League, and he was outstanding. He was the only good thing about our season in the Premier League. It was genuinely, isn't Brereton and Diaz great? Do you want to talk about anything else? Nope. Let's move on, because everything else was an absolute disaster. So the idea of him coming back, being part of this squad, that'd be incredible. Shea Charles, honestly, it's almost certainly got to just be paper talk, but I genuinely believe that would be the greatest thing our new owners could ever do, because it would be so funny, seeing the meltdown, seeing the panic. It's got to be a joke. Somebody somewhere is playing a joke, but that would be incredible, and I would love to see that happen, mainly for the banter. You know, he's a fantastic player, and I do believe he's too good for the Championship. I think next season with Southampton, he will probably be Player of the Year in the Championship when they're looking to get back to the Premier League. He's so good. What he would bring to us on the pitch would be something that we've not got, a little bit more control, a bit of creativity, as well as that defensive control and structure that he's got. I think he's got a fantastic game. I think he's an all-round midfielder who would contribute massively to our squad. Add in the emotional fun that we can have, and I just feel like that would be the perfect move for us to do this window, and actually the perfect statement from our new owners, because people are starting to get a little bit frustrated at the lack of movement.
I think I'd like to see that just for the meltdown and the reaction as well. I know we get it a little bit. We obviously recently seen Ben Godfrey join Ipswich, and to be fair, it's caused a little bit of meltdown on our behalf. So I know that feeling all too well. With all that context there, I mean, 20 games to go in the Championship this season, as you mentioned, you know, right on the tails. I mean, you're third at the moment, level on points with second place. What do you think you've got enough, I suppose, to push for that automatic come the end of the season, or do you think you're going to fall short?
I think we're going to fall short. I've been doing a lot of thinking about this because it does feel like it's the hot topic at the moment. Is everybody's doing mid-season predictions, or FA Cup weekend really feels like you're set up from the third round of the cup. The second half of the season's in full swing. Then everybody's talking about promotion. Everybody's talking about, are you going to be the team that makes it? And I think we've overperformed to be where we are. I think Chris Wilder, to be honest, has worked a miracle with the players that he's had available to him. I think we do need support and backing this January, and we need to get some players in the door. If you should judge me on what's happening right now, I think Leeds run away with it. I think Leeds win it by 10 points plus. I genuinely believe they're that much better than the chasing pack. And Burnley are my pick to finish second. I think United just fall short, end up in the playoffs. I think we are better than Sunderland. So right now, I'd say that we finish third. I think we push Burnley all the way. I wouldn't be shocked if you were sat here last game of the season saying, oh, it's a bit of a shootout. But I do expect us to just miss out right now.
Yeah, I suppose if that was the case, would you back Sheffield United to make a route to Wembley, promotion back to the Premier League? No.
Nope, never. So United. So it's funny. I was talking to a Leeds fan the other day, and they said, I can't imagine any club could ever have a worse playoff record than us. I told them to Google which football team in England has got the worst playoff record. Sheffield United, number one, front and centre. We've got a terrible record in the playoffs. I've been watching United 20, 24, 25 years. I think I've seen us losing the playoffs 7 times. And so it's just one of those things where it feels like it's repeating, a pattern of repeating over and over again. I just have to hope that whoever comes 6th on wearing blue and white, because that does seem to be the potential risk of the second half of the season at the minute. So I'll be rooting for you guys. You can come in, you can finish 6th, and you can make sure that my nightmares don't come true. Because at least if we lose at Carrow Road, I can accept that we're losing to a very good side.
Yeah, obviously, your home form's been pretty key, I suppose, to where you are in the league so far this season. Just one defeat at home. I mean, is that maybe a potential foundation to try and push towards the top 2? Obviously, home form, we all know how key it is in the Championship.
Yeah, completely. And United's home form has been built on an excellent defence. A lot has been made of Burnley's defence. Up until Boxing Day, United had only conceded 2 goals at Bramall Lane all season. We'd kept 9 consecutive clean sheets, and the only goals we'd conceded had come in the very first game of the season in a 2-2 draw with QPR. So we then went on a ridiculous run where we never conceded a goal. Michael Cooper, we signed him in the summer, had never conceded a goal at Bramall Lane until Boxing Day. So this is a run that has been massively built on a really strong defensive partnership, particularly the leadership of Harry Souttar. I actually did a bit of a deep dive on this the other day, and when Harry Souttar has played for Sheffield United, we've conceded 0.3 goals per game. That's a record that is equal to Burnley's. And obviously Burnley's is at a level that we can't really imagine. United have matched that for the majority of this season when Souttar's been fit. Unfortunately, on Boxing Day, Harry Souttar did his the ligament in your ankle that's named after that Greek man. I can't remember. Achilles. Human words, Oliver. He did his Achilles on Boxing Day. He's returned to Leicester now. Our record when Anel Ahmedhodzic and Jack Robinson play is less strong. We concede more like, I think it's 1.2 goals per game when those two are playing. So you can see the drop-off. You can see the worry, particularly that we know we're coming up against a team. I know Sainz can't play, which for us is a blessing in disguise because he terrifies me. But obviously, I think I've heard that Josh Sargent is back fit. Obviously, that's a massive boost to Norwich's potential and their chances of sort of moving up the league. And so thinking about our defence trying to deal with that without our linchpin and leader, it's a big loss. And I think it does give me a lot of worry, not just for this game, but for the rest of the season, because we've got to get a new centre-half in to replace the Colossus that we've lost.
Yeah, I think we've got a few Wi-Fi issues, my end, but we'll continue. Obviously, there's a few connections, I suppose, between the two sides, one of which has just recently made the permanent switch to Carrow Road, and it's Benlanii going to be injured for this game for Norwich. But I suppose a little bit of relief for the Blades fans. Yeah. But in terms of him as a character, his exit from Sheffield United, what did you make of all that? Because I know when we spoke early August time now, he was a Blades player.
Yeah, he was indeed. And it's a really interesting one for me, Anis Benlanii, because we never really saw the best of him at Bramall Lane. He didn't really have an opportunity to succeed. We signed him last summer when we'd just been promoted to the Premier League. And it was one of these where we've gone out to a European league, a lesser European league that's not part of the top 5. And you're paying not very much money and taking a gamble that somebody's going to be ready and able to step up into your squad and develop with you. He never really got fit and he wasn't able to get into United's team because he wasn't fit and he was a bit part player. And by the time he had got fit, Chris Wilder had come in, and it just seemed like Wilder didn't fancy him. He obviously was seeing something, whether it's in training. It just wasn't working for him at United. So we never got to see the most out of him. Now, that's not to say I'm not disappointed that he's moved on, because obviously we've seen, I'm not saying he's pulled up trees. I'm not saying that I've watched him intently, but it sounds as though he's been a very solid championship midfielder. It feels like he's still young and he's developing how he's getting physically ready for the English game, and he will only kick on from that perspective. So it's a shame we're not going to get the chance to see more of him in the United shirt. There was a bit of a cryptic tweet put out which suggested there was a little bit more to his departure from United than is being reported, and he probably feels that he wasn't treated the best at the club. And I have to say, I hope that's not the case. I hope he's not leaving with any acrimony, but I can understand it from his perspective if he is. I am glad that I was so angry when the deal was made permanent. My first response was, we play them on Saturday. Guys, just make the deal permanent on Sunday. And then somebody messaged me and went, he's injured. I was like, oh, fine, sell him when you want. At least I know we can't play, and that's the main thing. But yeah, I wish him all the best, but we never really got to see the most out of him at United.
Yeah, I think your assessment in terms of solid championship player for the value, I think we feel like we've got good value for money. Of course, talking about solid championship players, one that maybe made that switch in the summer on a free transfer, Sam McCallum, to Sheffield United, just 4 starts in the championship. I mean, what have you made of his career so far in a Blade shirt?
Adam, I love him. I really do. And it's interesting to say about a player who's only played 4 games. We've got an excellent left back in Harrison Burrows, stepping up from League One. He's so creative. He's really strong. He's really growing into the championship and getting used to the new level now. And so I really feel as though we've got such a strong player on that left-hand side. But McCallum is being majority used as a sub. He's coming on in the last 15, 20 minutes. We're using his energy. I cannot believe how high that man can jump. It is genuinely it's what people must, and obviously a different level, but it's what people must think when they watch Ronaldo. Like, he sets off running and you think, 5'8", what chance has he got? And suddenly he's 7'2" and winning headers against anybody. So he's really becoming a crowd favourite with the impact he's having, with the energy he's showing, with that athleticism that he's got. And we're asking him to do a really horrible job, you know. For the majority of his time, he's playing central midfield, or he's playing attacking left wing, because he's having to just come on, fill a role, be versatile, but he's committing to everything. And I really like him. And I really do think he's going to have a good career at United. I don't think he'll ever be our first choice. I don't think he's ever going to be a superstar, but I think he's always going to be a crowd favourite for the way that he's thrown himself into these sort of first few months of his time at the club.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a twinge of disappointment when he left Norwich. Yeah, on that jumping point, I remember the few times from corners, you always think he comes out of nowhere and he might score. So hopefully he can add that to the Blades team, because, yeah, he's definitely got that in the locker. In terms of the reverse game, 1-1 draw back in August. Josh Sargent opening the score in that day. Ollie Arblaster with the equaliser, a really cracking strike into the bottom corner from distance. Any sort of memories, I suppose, from that game and that encounter? Are you expecting something similar on Saturday, something completely different? How do you see it unfolding?
That pass for your goal, was it a Manqua? That was genuine, one of the proper moments of class I've seen this season. It was such a nice goal. I think it was Suter who had come out and committed himself, but that little bit of skill to get the ball in for Sargent was excellent. So that's my overarching memory of the game, is that fear of, oh, that were good. That were a bit good. But the game I thought was really interesting. I thought it was really even, actually. I think the 1-1 was a fair result. I think both clubs felt they'd had chances to win it, but probably neither team could come away and go, we deserved it. It was more of a, I wish we'd taken our chances than I think we should have done. And I do expect it to be a similar game. United are a different beast at home. But as I've said, we're lacking a little bit at the moment. I'm hoping that the rest has done us good. I'm hoping that we might be sprung a little bit of a surprise in terms of the fitness. But certainly the reports we've had so far are that we're not expecting much of a different side to the one that played at Watford before the FA Cup break. So I think it'll be a similar game. I think it'll probably be a worse watch, because United have got very adept this season at closing down games and making them really rubbish to watch. Like, the first 45 minutes are so often, you go down at half time and you go, that were rubbish, weren't it? And then the second half finishes 1-0 and you go, yeah, we take that and we move on. So I don't think it's going to be one for the neutrals, but I do think the game is going to still have that balance to it. I don't think I'm expecting either team to really come and dominate and really take the game away from the opposition. I think it's more likely going to be one on the margins, 1-0 either way. I wouldn't be shocked to see a score draw, maybe a 1-1. I think it's going to be a really interesting one. And I think that fitness point is going to be key. I think Josh Sargent's probably one of the best attackers in the division. I know he's got fitness concerns, and I think that's probably going to mean that he doesn't get that big move. It doesn't move him to the next level until he can prove that fitness. But him being back and on it worries me.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge boost. I know we've got a few injury concerns, and obviously the suspension to Signs is far from ideal. But we head to Bramall Lane with maybe a little bit more confidence off the back of Josh Sargent being available, as you mentioned, one of the best forwards probably in this division. With that context, everything we've wrapped around, I suppose just intrigued to get a key player maybe from either side that you see affecting this game. Josh Sargent feels like one. But in terms of Sheffield United, who's the star player to look out for? Gus Hamer's one that for me is always a danger at this level.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one looking at United's side, and particularly the team that's going to play, because we've got some of those standout names, and the opposition always pick out Gus Hamer. Gus Hamer is, for my money, the best player in the division. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise just because I want to downplay how important he is, or I want to make it seem like we've not got that. But the player who really I think is going to be key in the game is Tom Davies. So the way that United play is we've been so reliant on Vinicius Souza in central midfield. He's been a defensive destroyer. He's everywhere, winning his tackles, but also just controlling the tempo and playing United out of trouble. With him coming out of the team, we're now relying on a little bit of, it's more 2 number 8s than a 6. So we've not got that deep defensive player. We've got 2 players now kind of cover that same distance, as well as driving United forward and trying to use their energy. Tom Davies has had a horrible time with injuries, just truly awful. And it really has taken the sting away from what was looking like a really promising career. But he played 3 90s back-to-back for us recently, which I think is so impressive for someone just coming back from such a serious injury. But he's been really impressive. And I think when he's fully fit, obviously we don't know if he's ever going to be the player he was before, but he's shown enough for me to say that I think when he's fully fit, he'll be another one of those players who I'm looking at and saying he's too good for this. He's too good to be sat playing in the Championship, because he's just got that extra touch of quality. And I think where this game will be won is in that midfield battle. And so for me, Davies is United's key player. Hamer, if we're going to score, he'll probably do something. But if we're going to win, it'll all come through Davies and Peck in the midfield. And I think Davies is the one who can really take control of the game.
Yeah, certainly a player that needs to get back to playing regularly. Got all the qualities, as you mentioned there, to be a really top player. Injuries kind of blighted his whole career so far to this point. With everything you mentioned, maybe / hinted at a few score predictions. I'm going to push you for how exact predictions for how you see this game unfolding. Obviously, going to be probably a good atmosphere at Bramall Lane. And Norwich bringing quite a few fans as per usual. So in terms of how you see it unfolding, prediction wise.
It's always a really good game and always a really good atmosphere, I think, when we played Norwich. I think it all stems back to that James Maddison game a few years ago when he really got on our nerves. He'd really wound up the crowd. He really wound up Wilder, and Wilder's made a bit of a bee in his bonnet about that in the years since. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I think it will be fun. I don't think it's going to be a great watch, but hopefully the crowd and the atmosphere gives us a little bit of something to stick our teeth into. My prediction is going to be 1-1. I think United will take the lead. I do think we'll score first. I think it'll probably come from a moment of magic from Hamer. That's not saying he'll score the goal, but he will do something, which means that United are capable of scoring a goal. I would then expect Sargent probably to be the player who returns. I think the way the game will play is that United will come out and start fast. Maybe United will put you under a little bit of pressure. We'll not look like creating chances, but you'll always be thinking, oh, maybe they are gonna. Eventually, we will create one chance, and usually that goes in the back of the net because it's just the way our season's gone so far. But then we'll sit off. The fitness issues will start to hit. I think Norwich will start to play back into game and realise that we are ceding a little bit of control. You have got the opportunity, particularly in midfield, to take control of possession and really just take a little bit of time to get your foot on the ball and play out. I think that'll then start to build a little bit of pressure. And at some point in the second half, you'll then be able to create that chance. And yeah, as I say, I would predict you to take it. With our defensive record, 1-0 is never off the table, but I am committing myself to 1-1.
I think most Norwich fans will be happy with that, to be honest. A point on the road. We head to Leeds as well on Wednesday after that. So 2 really tough back-to-back away games. So
I'm going to change my prediction. So we're going to beat you 1-0, and then you're going to smash Leeds. that's what we're going for. 3 points deep. I think you'd take that rather than a 1-1 at United and a 1-1 at Ellen Road. Yeah. Lose at Bramall Lane, all your effort on Wednesday. It's the only way to play.
Oh, we'd take that. We'd take that all along. Ollie, finally, just want to plug your guys' channel where Sheffield United fans, Norwich fans can find your guys' content.
Yes, completely. So we're the Sheff United Way. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter. You can also follow us on all the podcast hosts. So Apple through Spotify. So you'll be able to find us on there. I also do a weekly championship podcast where we talk all things championship with Gab Sutton. That's the EFL debate. Last week, we did our mid-season predictions. Again, you can find that on Spotify, or you can search through my own or Gab's Twitter, where you'll be able to find a link to the broadcast.
Excellent. Of course, we'll link all that good stuff down below. Gab Sutton, of course, also a good friend of this channel. So, we'll link that down below for any championship fans that are watching this that can go and get involved and listen to what Ollie and Gab have in terms of predictions for the rest of the season. Ollie, really do appreciate your time this evening. Obviously, always a pleasure to catch up ahead of this fixture. A massive game for both sides. Norwich hoping to maintain their relatively positive run, I suppose, in the championship. Sheffield United, of course, hoping to try and keep track with that top two hunt towards the end of the season. So we'll see what we get. On Saturday, lots of good content across our channel still at the moment as well. Of course, this afternoon, Norwich have announced the signing of Matej Jurasek. We've got a little bit of an insight in terms of him not going to be eligible to be registered until February due to all the Brexit, all the difficulties, GBE and ESC slots, all a bit complex. With the Czech journo. So, of course, you can go and check that out. We'll be speaking to Johannes Hoff tomorrow down at Colney. So the injury crisis, I suppose, that will probably happen for Norwich ahead of this game. We'll all be there as well tomorrow afternoon on our YouTube channel. So with that, we'll see you on Saturday at Bramall Lane. Of course, we hope for a good game. Norwich hoping to try and get a win over the Blades for the first time since 2017.